So here's the truth nobody in New Delhi wants to hear. Russia doesn't care about India anymore. And Xi Jinping's recent visit just made that painfully obvious. While Indian diplomats are busy sending polite "we value our friendship" tweets and blocking Pakistan on Twitter, Xi Jinping was doing actual diplomacy by flying straight into Moscow, shaking hands with Vladimir Putin, smiling for the cameras, and celebrating 80 years since the defeat of Nazi Germany, side by side with his closest ally. Not India, not the West, China, and make no mistake, this wasn't some cute historical photo op. This was power politics, loud and clear, a signal that Russia and China are not just friends, they are partners, deep, strategic, and long-term. So let's unpack this. Xi Jinping's visit to Russia on Victory Day wasn't random. This is the biggest annual military celebration in Russia. It's symbolic, it's emotional, it's about pride and power. And this year, with most of Europe turning its back on Moscow due to the war in Ukraine, Xi showing up was a massive win for Putin. Let's be real, both Russia and China lost a staggering amount of people during World War II. It makes sense that they understand each other's national pain. Just think about it. Western leaders boycott Russia, NATO expands, the ruble crashes, but Xi Jinping shows up like it's no big deal, like none of that matters. He's there, shaking hands, watching tanks roll down Red Square, making it clear to the world. China's got your back, Vlad. Cross-border payments in Chinese yuan are only increasing, and China's new payment system can and will bypass SWIFT. Behind the hugs and smiles, what's really going on is a strategic alignment that should worry everyone in Washington, Brussels, and especially New Delhi. Because while India is still clinging to the good old Cold War days, dreaming of its special relationship with Russia, Putin has moved on. Russia's future isn't westward, it's eastward, toward Beijing. Let's talk numbers. In 2023 alone, Russia exported over $100 billion worth of oil, gas, and coal to China. That's more than double what they were sending before the war in Ukraine. Why? Because after sanctions from the West kicked in, Putin needed a new customer. And China said, sure, we'll buy your energy, but at a fat discount. So now, China is swimming in cheap Russian oil, funding the Kremlin's war machine, and calling the shots behind the scenes. Meanwhile, India, bless its little heart, is still pretending it's a neutral player, buying some discounted oil from Moscow, but expecting loyalty in return. That's not how this game works anymore. Russia isn't loyal to India. That era is gone. Back in the 1970s and 80s, yes, the Soviet Union supported India during its wars with Pakistan. They blocked United Nations resolutions, sent weapons, and even scared off the U.S. Navy during the 1971 war. But today's Russia, it's economically broken, isolated, and desperately in need of Chinese money and protection. China gives Russia what India can't: a massive market, shared hatred of American dominance, and most importantly, military tech cooperation without asking too many questions. India, on the other hand, wants to play both sides. Buying weapons from Russia, cozying up to the US, and pretending to be some sort of non-aligned guru. That worked when the world was less connected. Today, that strategy just looks confused. Come on, as soon as Trump came into office, Modi hopped on the first plane to Washington to kiss his feet. No red carpet welcome for Modi. He was even forced to stop buying discounted Russian oil and gas, so why would Russia now care about India? Let's add another piece to this puzzle: Pakistan. China and Pakistan are closer than ever. They've built the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project that runs through disputed Kashmir. Yes, India's Kashmir. And guess what Russia did about that? Nothing, not a word. In fact, Russia has started cozying up to Pakistan too. Quietly, of course, but the signals are clear. A few years ago, Moscow started conducting joint military exercises with Islamabad. That would have been unthinkable during the Cold War, but now, totally normal. India is watching all this like someone who wasn't invited to the party, but still keeps texting, "Hey, we should hang out soon." It's sad, really. The Indian media still loves to call Russia a trusted old friend, but that friendship is one-sided now. Russia sells arms to India not because of love, but because India pays. And China pays more. In fact, Russia is helping China develop early warning missile systems. That's a top-tier military technology, something Russia never offered India, even at the height of their alliance. You'd think India would wake up. But no. Instead of reassessing its strategy, India keeps trying to hedge, buying Russian oil on one hand, begging the US for semiconductor investments on the other, and hoping nobody notices the contradiction. It's like dating two people at once and hoping they never find out. Except in this case, one of them, Russia, is clearly more into China now. Let's not forget the war in Ukraine. India abstained from voting against Russia at the UN. It kept trade going. But did Russia thank India? Not really. In fact, Putin barely mentions India these days in his speeches. India's more like a distant memory, like that ex you dated for a few weeks 30 years ago. And Xi's visit to Russia just rubs salt in the wound. Because it wasn't just about military parades, it was about shaping the world order. Xi and Putin talked about multipolarity, resisting Western pressure, and defending sovereignty, which in their language basically means, let's do whatever we want without the US interfering. India might agree with parts of that message, but it's not in the room. It's not part of that club, and it won't be anytime soon. Remember when Trump threatened to destroy any attempt at a new BRICS currency and India immediately backed down? Yeah, great superpower, India. India dreams of becoming a global power, but power requires alliances, real ones. Not just ceremonial handshakes and vague statements on Twitter. Russia and China have built exactly that, a functional, mutually beneficial, and increasingly unshakable alliance. They share intelligence, they coordinate policy, they even run joint naval patrols in the Pacific. India? It's stuck trying to balance between too many camps, while its biggest military supplier now dances to Beijing's tune. And don't forget, India is still crying about Ladakh, territory which they believe belongs to India, yet is controlled firmly by China. There have been border skirmishes, soldiers have died. Did Russia step in to help India? Nope, not even a harsh statement or words of support. You'd think that would be a wake-up call, but here we are. India is like that one kid in class who still thinks being neutral will earn him friends on both sides. But in reality, he's just being left out of the group projects. And the recent Kashmir conflict? Well, Russian diplomat Sergei Lavrov spoke to his Pakistani counterpart to offer help in resolving this conflict. Isn't it strange that he would contact Pakistan first and not India? So what does all this mean for the world? Simple. The global order is shifting fast. The US and Europe are building a new Cold War 2.0. On the other side, you've got China and Russia forming a tight bloc, dragging countries like Iran and North Korea into their orbit, and in the middle sits India, still clinging to the fantasy of strategic autonomy while the rest of the world picks sides. It's going to get left behind, just like its roads and toilets. The Xi-Putin bromance in Moscow wasn't just about celebrating the end of World War II. It was about today's war, over influence, over markets, over power. And India? Well, it better figure out where it stands. Fast, because the world's moving on, and no one's waiting for New Delhi to catch up. If you want more deep dives into the messy truth behind global politics, hit that subscribe button and check out our next video. You won't want to miss it.